Imagine living with a mindset so stable that nothing can derail you, where you don't react impulsively or let yourself be carried away by strong emotions. A life where your actions stem from calm, not anger. A life where you have the clarity to choose what to do. This is something that can truly happen. The Stoics were the first to realize the power of feelings and to practice self-control. Not to become cold, but to learn to guide what they feel, what they think, and what they do. In this video, you'll discover how you can do this too. I've put together 9 simple, clear, and practical teachings that will help you train your way of reacting to life situations. They require nothing more than practice, and the first step is for you to write in the comments. Today, I exercise my mind to live the best way possible. But before we begin, I want to ask you 2 things. Like the video and subscribe to the channel. This will ensure this content reaches other people who also want to learn self-control. Now let's go straight to the first lesson. Lesson 1. Exercise your mind. Think about the last time you tried to get back to the gym after a break. At first, everything hurts, your body freezes. Fatigue sets in quickly and every movement feels like a huge weight. But if you persist, if you keep going, what was once discomfort turns into strength. It's the same with the mind. If you don't practice, it becomes fragile. If you don't take charge, it takes over on its own. And when that happens, things get out of whack. You might start the day focused, but all it takes is one text message on your phone and you lose your cool. One misunderstood comment, one bad memory, and suddenly you can't think clearly anymore. An untrained mind fills with noise, becomes reactive and charged with emotion. It becomes a factory for imagining disasters, repeating old habits and self-sabotaging without you even realizing it. That's why exercising your mind is essential. It's not about forcing positive thinking, but learning to notice what's going on in your head and deciding what to let go of. Because every repeated thought becomes a pattern, and this pattern shapes how you feel, how you choose, and how you live. If you tell yourself every day that you're not good enough, you'll end up acting like someone who doesn't deserve more from life. If you feed fear, comparison, and guilt every day, your brain learns to see threats where none exist. You react to the world as if it were an enemy, even when it isn't. But if you consciously decide where to focus, what stance to adopt, and what response to give, then something changes. Not because the world has become easier, but because you've become stronger. Writer Brianna West said, "The moment you realize you can choose what you think is the moment your life begins to transform." Training your mind is exactly that, choosing what to feed, identifying harmful thoughts before they become actions, treating yourself with firmness but also with respect. You don't have to be perfect, but you do need to be present. You need to be the kind of person who, even on a bad day, chooses a better idea, observes the mess, breathes into it and asks, "What can I build now?" Will it be difficult? Definitely. But much harder is living as a prisoner of a mind that has never been trained. A weak mind gives up easily, reacts endlessly, and destroys itself silently. A strong mind, however tired, knows how to wait, how to recover, and how to keep going. And if today is the day you start this training, write in the comments, "Today I start training my mind." Because this decision, simple in words, has enormous impact. It's at this point that you turn the key. When you realize you can change the course of your day simply by choosing where to place your attention. You don't need to control everything. You just need to guide your thoughts before they decide how you will act. Lesson 2. Do what most people avoid. Imagine a cold morning, your body heavy, the alarm clock already ringing for the 3rd time. No one will see if you get up now or in an hour, but it is precisely there, in this ordinary moment, that your identity is being shaped or weakened. Mental strength isn't born in fancy lectures. It emerges in these small daily battles against the urge to put things off. It's when everything inside you tells you to stop, and yet you get up. It's when your energy is gone, and yet you keep going. It's when you're tired, frustrated, and unable to see results, and yet you do what needs to be done. This is something almost no one is willing to practice. Many dream of growth, but few have the courage to train the mental fortitude it requires. Because it hurts, because it needs to be fed, cared for, reinforced, while most people only learn to give in, give up, and retreat. Want to see how this plays out in your average day? You promise to wake up early to work out, but the bed is soft and warm. You say you're going to study, but your cell phone catches your eye. You decide to save money, but that tempting offer appears. It's in these situations, in these small details, that it becomes clear who's in charge, your discipline or your fleeting desire. As Angela Duckworth, resilience researcher and author of the book, Claw, the difference between normal people and amazing people is not talent, but the ability to keep going when the going gets tough. Mental strength is born in uncomfortable places. That's where consistency, skill, and self-respect emerge. While many give up at the first hurdle, the strong take a deep breath and keep going. Not because they're full of motivation, but because they've already decided to no longer live under the dictates of laziness, anxiety, or fear. They know that every time they do what they don't want to do but know is right, they're winning a hidden war. The war against laziness, mediocrity, and the procrastination that destroys dreams. And it's not about doing the impossible, but about doing the basics every day until they become a natural part of life. You may not be the most talented in the room, but you can be the most dedicated, the one who always gets up, the one who acts even when afraid, the one who doesn't stop, even without applause. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Life isn't about waiting for the storm to end, it's about learning to walk through it." This phrase is a practice. It's telling yourself, today it's gonna hurt, but I'm gonna do it anyway. It's washing the dishes when everything inside you wants to lie down. It's studying when your mind wants to shut down. It's taking a deep breath and carrying on when fatigue sets in. This is resilience. It's silencing excuses, strengthening your mind, and doing what needs to be done, because the extraordinary will never be achieved by those who only do what's comfortable. If you want to develop this attitude, write in the comments, "I choose to do what's difficult because I deserve the extraordinary." Repeat this phrase sincerely until it becomes your pattern, because when your mind learns not to give in, your life learns not to stop. And it's at this point that you become dangerous to your old self. Lesson 3. Free yourself from the laziness of the mind. Mental laziness is one of the most hidden forms of self-sabotage. It doesn't arrive screaming, it doesn't cause quick pain, nor does it immediately manifest destruction. It disguises itself as well-deserved rest, harmless fun, or just one more video before bed. It's like a soft couch that holds you. The longer you stay there, the harder it is to get up. So, without realizing it, you stop thinking for yourself, stop analyzing what you consume, and start automatically repeating what the world throws at you. You wake up, grab your phone, swipe, watch, consume, respond. But when do you really think? When was the last time you read something and stopped to truly reflect? When was the last time you heard a piece of news and decided to investigate it yourself? Today, many people live merely as spectators of their own minds. They react to everything, but almost never make a choice. They receive opinions but don't develop ideas. They expect ready-made answers, but don't ask questions. And do you know what's most dangerous about this? While you're distracted, the world continues to shape you. Algorithms choose what appears on your screen. Headlines choose what you'll believe. Random comments choose what you'll feel. When you surrender your mind to automaticity, you surrender your freedom. Seneca once said that nothing is nobler than using one's own reason well. And even today, those who don't exercise their thinking become fragile. Not because they're incapable, but because they've stopped using their own strength. Think of something simple. You watch a controversial video and immediately issue a judgment. Someone responds sharply to you, and you immediately assume rejection. A work message arrives without an emoji, and you imagine you've made a mistake. But did you stop to think? Or did you just react? Did you reflect? Or did you just let automatic emotion decide? Breaking out of mental laziness is an act of courage. It's getting up from the internal couch of passivity. It's opening a book when all you wanted to do was scroll through your feed. It's questioning an idea even when it seems too obvious. It's stopping just agreeing and starting to create your own vision. This doesn't require genius, but rather humility. The humility of realizing that you may not know everything, but you can learn anything as long as you're awake. Read, reflect, write, start producing, creating, deciding, Because those who only consume empty themselves, but those who create renew themselves. And if you think thinking is heavy, experience the weight of living a life you didn't choose. You don't need to be a philosopher, but you need to stop being manipulated. You need to take care of your lucidity. Recover your ability to judge. Because when you think better, you live better. Marcus Aurelius said that the quality of your thoughts defines the quality of your life. And today, brain science confirms it. Your thoughts build the pathways within your mind that define your behavior. This means that if you change the way you think, you also change the way you feel, decide, and act. That's why, before you want to change the world, you must change the way you talk to it. Replace "that's just how it is" with "why is it like that?" Replace "I am like this" with "who can I become?" Replace "I don't understand" with "I'll research." Don't live on autopilot. Don't settle for simply repeating ideas you've never questioned. Choose to be an author. Write in the comments, "Today I'm leaving mental laziness behind." Start using the greatest power you have in your hands, deciding to think and react wisely. Because a well-trained mind is the starting point for a clear, conscious, and purposeful life. Lesson 4. Control your emotions before they control you. Imagine a car speeding down a hill, but the driver has his eyes closed, not holding the steering wheel, and no one knows where or when he'll crash. This is exactly what happens when you let your emotions take over your life. We all feel anger, sadness, envy, and even frustration to some degree. But those who don't learn to manage their feelings end up having accidents caused by their own reactions. Mastering your emotions isn't about pretending to be happy all the time. It's not about hiding what you feel, nor forcing yourself to be cold. It's about having enough clarity to recognize when anger has taken over, when anxiety is accelerating too much, and when fear is pulling the handbrake. It's being able to stop before exploding. It's breathing before judging. It's choosing your response instead of simply repeating your impulses. Consider a simple example. You come home from work tired and find the sink full of dishes. Your mind screams, "No one here will help." You want to take your frustration out on whoever is nearby. But if you stop, breathe, and reflect, you can ask yourself, am I just too exhausted to deal with this right now? Is it worth starting a fight right now? What's the smartest way to speak up to actually resolve the issue? This brief space between feeling the impulse and acting can avoid a major conflict and keep the peace. Another case, your boss responds curtly, your mind interprets it as an insult, and your ego wants to retaliate. But if you look again and think, is it really against me or is he just under pressure? This lucidity is what separates those who live in chaos from those who have learned to navigate their emotions. As Naval Ravikant said, anger is like a poison you drink hoping someone else will suffer. Anyone who reacts in the heat of emotion is poisoning themselves on the inside, even when they believe they are winning on the outside. Epictetus already taught, emotions are not orders, they are suggestions. You can feel anger without obeying it. You can be afraid without running away. You can cry without breaking down. Controlling yourself is maturity, not repression. It's saying, this hit me, but it won't destroy me. You can be sad and still fulfill your responsibilities. You can feel hurt and still treat others with respect. You can feel pain and still hold your head high. True emotional control doesn't mean not feeling anything, but rather being aware of what you feel. And this awareness only emerges when you shift from autopilot. Instead of reacting without thinking, you observe. Instead of shutting yourself down, you ask yourself, this emotion is trying to protect me, but from what? This pause is one of the most powerful weapons a human being can train. It is from it that self-control, clarity, and true freedom are born. Of course, it's not easy. There will be days when you lose your temper, speak without thinking, misjudge, or act impulsively. But this doesn't mean weakness. It means humanity. What makes you strong is always returning to your center. Emotional freedom begins when you realize that feeling isn't the problem. The problem is reacting without awareness, acting without reflection, living as a hostage to your own emotions. You don't need to control the world. You just need to learn to control yourself. Write in the comments, "Today I choose to be guided by calm." Let this phrase be a reminder. Your inner world is the only space where you have complete power, and when you learn to command this territory, everything else stops controlling you. And if you're enjoying the content, consider becoming a channel member. Besides helping the channel, you'll also get exclusive content. Click the link in the description and become a member now. Back to the content. Lesson 5. Change your beliefs to transform your life. Imagine you were born in a house with stained glass. You grew up looking out through this dirty glass and came to believe the problem lay in the world outside, without realizing that your vision was distorted within. This is how limiting beliefs work. Thoughts instilled in you before you could even choose. Phrases like, "You're not cut out for this," "You're always getting in the way," "You'll never get what you need." Maybe no one ever said these exact words, but the looks, the silences, the comparisons, and even your own mistakes built this image of who you believed you were. The problem is that, over time, these phrases become part of your identity, and you begin to live as if they were truths that cannot be changed. You stop trying, you don't take risks, you don't believe anymore, because deep down there's still a voice repeating, "You can't do it." But here's something important. Beliefs aren't facts. They're stories you've accepted and can be changed. Consider a simple example. You mess up a task at work. Instead of seeing it as an opportunity to learn, your mind races. "See, I'm a failure." Someone compliments you, and you quickly respond, "Imagine, it was luck." Or they call you for an opportunity and you think, "I can't do that." These reactions seem natural, but they're the result of an old automatic script, one you didn't choose but have been repeating for a long time. And like everything that repeats itself, this script gains strength. The mind, wanting to confirm what it already believes, even distorts its correct statements to fit the story of limitation. Thus, you become a prisoner of a narrative you didn't even write. But here's the secret. Any belief can be dismantled with awareness. Start by asking, where did this thought come from? Who taught me this? Does this belief protect me or paralyze me? If I didn't have this thought, what would I do now? These questions are the first blows against the old script, because what isn't questioned continues to exist. As researcher Caroline Leaf says, "You're not a prisoner of your brain. You're the one who creates it." The brain changes based on what you intentionally repeat. This is called neuroplasticity. That's why changing your frequent thoughts also changes how you see yourself. Epictetus once said, "We are not affected by what happens, but by what we think about what happens." Now I ask you, what have you been thinking about yourself, about relationships, money, success? That's where the real blockage lies. It's not the mistake that holds you back, but how you interpret it. It's not the rejection that hurts, it's the conclusion you drew from it. It's not your difficult childhood or the criticism you heard, but the story you created from it. Reprogramming your mind means stopping living in the echo chamber of pain and starting to write your life based on truth. You can start right now. You can stop repeating that it's too late, that it's too complicated, that it's not for you. You can replace "I can't do it" with "I'm learning." You can change "I'm not enough" with "I'm growing." And no, this isn't idle talk. It's taking control. It's you taking back the pen of your own story and deciding that you won't be a supporting character in your destiny. Right here in the comments. Today, I change my story from the inside out. Believe it, because the world only changes for those who have the courage to change their own minds. And when you program your certainties, you change your life. You stop being trapped in the past and start being guided by what you choose to build from today onward. Lesson 6. Expectation is the enemy of peace. Imagine walking into a restaurant starving, ordering and waiting. Half an hour passes, no one shows up. You get nervous, complain, and leave frustrated, feeling like your evening has been ruined. Now imagine the same scenario, but this time you already know the service is slow. So you bring a book, order calmly, relax, and when the food finally arrives, enjoy it, stress-free. What's the difference between the two situations? Expectation. Life works the same way. The more you demand that people do it your way, that the world follow your plan, that everything happens according to your mind's script, the greater your disappointment will be. But when you let go of expectations, something powerful happens. You begin to live with more presence, clarity, and tranquility. This isn't being passive, it's being wise. The Stoic vision isn't about denying your feelings, but about freeing yourself from the prison of wanting to control what doesn't depend on you. You don't decide whether someone will treat you kindly, but you can choose to maintain your composure. You don't decide whether a project will fail, but you can decide how to react when it does. You don't control the past, time, or other people's choices, but you do have control over what you think, feel, and do from now on. This is the central teaching of Stoicism, directing your energy toward what is within your reach. Think about your day today. How many times have you been angered by something you never had control over? A message read but not responded to, an unexpected criticism, someone who didn't recognize your efforts. These little things drain your energy. And do you know why? Because you still insist on fighting reality. Acceptance isn't approval. It's simply stopping wasting energy on things that won't change just because you rebelled. It's using your energy to act instead of complaining. Ryan Holiday wrote, "Expectation is the enemy of peace. Those who expect too much from others end up disappointed. Those who demand too much of themselves suffocate. But those who learn to face facts as they are, without exaggeration, free themselves. And this freedom is built gradually. It arises when you begin to filter your thoughts before they become certainties, when you take a deep breath before responding impulsively, when you remember every day that your peace is worth more than being right, winning an argument, or maintaining control that never existed." Marcus Aurelius said, "You have power over your mind, not over what happens outside it. By realizing this, you find strength, and this is the foundation of the Stoic mind, inner freedom. Freedom not to be carried away by the emotions of others. Freedom not to fall into emotional traps. Freedom to focus on what builds, instead of getting lost in what wears you down." Right here in the comments, my power lies in what I choose to think. Because in a world where everything changes, where people fail, plans fall apart, and emotions fluctuate, those who command their own mind become as firm as a rock. This is the true Stoic shield. Not coldness, but clarity. Not controlling the world, but learning to govern yourself. But there's a catch. If you've been trying for a long time to break out of conformity and ignorance and can't seem to get there, it might be for other reasons, and you don't know what's causing it. But I know what it is. It's anxiety. Anxiety comes like a silent snake and poisons you without you even realizing it. It leaves you infected for days, months, and even years. And if you have it, it would be like living sick. However, there is an antidote from the Stoics which, together with modern psychology, can free you from all this, just as it freed me. I made a video showing how you can rid yourself of this poison in your life. It's in the first comment. Click the link in the first comment and cure yourself of this anxiety poison. Lesson 7. Have direction. Seneca said, "No wind helps those who don't know where they want to go." Perhaps that's why so many people live tired, even without having moved. You wake up, grab your phone, drown in messages, spend the whole day erasing small problems, and when night falls, you feel like you've merely survived. There was no direction, no clarity, and no criteria. So here's a simple Stoic exercise to train your mind every day. Choose one word, just one, that describes who you want to become. This word will be your compass when everything is confusing. It will be your reminder of what truly matters, even when the world pulls you in the opposite direction. Marcus Aurelius used this practice. He guided himself by words like sincere, fair, and humble. Not because he was impeccable, but because he knew where he wanted to go. These words served as a guide, keeping his thoughts firmly on track, even when everything seemed out of control. Now think. If your word were discipline, perhaps you would have rejected that distraction. If it were presence, perhaps you would have put your phone away during that important conversation. If it were balance, perhaps you would have taken a deep breath before overreacting. This word isn't a magical object. It only gains power when it becomes a criterion, when it becomes a filter. When you start asking yourself, does this bring me closer or further away from the person I want to be? Write your word down, keep it where you can see it, repeat it to yourself, and make it a reference for your choices and actions. Because a strengthened mind is one that has direction and keeps moving forward, even when everything tries to push you off the path. Now share your word and commit to it as if you were deciding a new path. The difference between an ordinary week and a transformative one often lies in this: having direction. Lesson 8. Build the mental habits of unstoppable people. Think of an athlete who gets up every day before sunrise to run. No one sees, no one applauds. But it is in this silence that he builds what will later be called talent. This is also how people with a strong mind live. What makes someone unstoppable isn't a special gift, nor unique genetics, nor a stroke of luck. It's what no one sees, the habits of the mind, practiced every day, in small decisions, in moments when it would be much easier to give up. These people don't wait for the urge to happen. They build systems. They don't live by their own mood, but by the rhythm of discipline. You recognize a person who doesn't let themselves be stopped by what they do when everything seems to be falling apart. While many wallow in frustration, they silence their complaints and ask, "What can I build from this?" While some abandon their plans at the first hurdle, they take a deep breath, adjust their course, and move forward. Not because it's easy, but because they understand that consistency is worth more than fleeting excitement. The difference lies in the details that almost no one notices. For example, you wake up late, the rain falls, and your body begs you to stay in bed. An average person thinks, "I can't do this today." The unstoppable person says, "It's not about what I want now, but about who I'm becoming." Or you mess up a task at work. Your mind tries to sabotage you. "See, you never get it right." But the response is, "That mistake taught me, now I know what not to repeat." This is mental training, an invisible bodybuilding of identity. As James Clear, author of Atomic Habits, every action is a vote for the kind of person you want to become. Those who don't stop vote every day, even on their worst days, toward their best version. They don't need constant motivation to act because they've already created systems that work even without inspiration. They treat themselves firmly, but also with respect. They don't wallow in self-criticism. They correct what needs to be corrected without forgetting their own worth. They speak to themselves as leaders, not with pity or excuses. On difficult days, while many say, "I can't do it," they respond, "I'll do it anyway." While some say, "I'm not ready," they decide, "I'll start anyway and grow stronger in the process." And note, this doesn't mean they don't feel pain. They do, but pain doesn't stop them. It makes them grow. They transform obstacles into exercises, and each challenge becomes another repetition in the gym of the mind. Epictetus said, "What would Hercules be without challenges? Just an ordinary man with no reason to have his name remembered in history." Good sailors owe their fame to storms, and the unstoppable owe their strength to their responses to difficulty, always with structure, intention, and focus. When you stop waiting for the ideal scenario to appear, you start building that ideal scenario within yourself. And that's where the difference lies. Many wait for discipline to knock on the door, but you can plant discipline right now. It may not grow overnight, but it grows silently through your simplest choices, repeated daily. Start acting like someone who doesn't depend on luck, but on direction. Write in the comments, "Today I train my mind as my greatest tool of power," because it is your mind that controls your life, and no one who controls their own thoughts can be easily stopped by what happens outside. Lesson 9. Change your posture. Seneca said, "You need to transform your mind, not just your place, because mistakes follow you wherever you go." And that's exactly it. You can move to a new city, change jobs, or even start a new relationship. But if you don't change the way you think and react, the confusion will continue to follow you. Think of someone who moves house in search of calm, but soon the same emotional turmoil reappears. Another person breaks up with a partner, and shortly after starts another repeating the same arguments. Or they change bosses and continue complaining about the same pressure. The landscape changes, but the script repeats itself because the problem was never external, but rather in the way the person approaches life. As Seneca said, "Illness follows the sick." In other words, if you don't cleanse yourself, the dirt reappears. Changing your attitude means stopping blaming your environment and starting to look within. It's understanding that perhaps what's holding you back isn't traffic, your boss, or your routine, but rather your reaction to it all. James Clear, author of Atomic Habits, wrote, "You don't reach the level of your goals, you fall to the level of your systems. And the first system that needs adjusting is your attitude toward life, how you act when you're tired, pressured, criticized, or ignored." It doesn't have to be anything grand. Most of the time, changing your attitude is simply washing the dishes, even if you don't feel like it, responding calmly to a rude message, breathing before reacting, saying no firmly without feeling guilty afterward. It's about not spending the whole week dragging yourself along, just waiting for Friday to feel like you've truly lived. These small choices build the mental strength you so desperately seek from the outside. And the day comes when you realize it wasn't the world that changed. It was you who learned to command yourself. If this is the strength you want to create in your life, right here, I choose to change my attitude. This decision may seem simple, but it changes everything. It changes your focus, your energy, your results, and above all, it changes the way you see yourself.